In a previous video, I did a contact sheet and I printed it out and had a look, and I think I've got a couple photographs that I'd like to scan. So that's kind of your first process before getting into deciding what negatives you would wish to do a full-on scan. But if I were to open up my little hard drive, and it's on my other screen once again, pull that over so you can see it. Open up my little hard drive. Within my Adam Long folder, within my photographs folder, within assignment 1, I've got the Oregon Trail JPEG. Now, let's pull that over. There are my photographs. Ones that I'm kind of interested on, especially this one in the middle here. Rock and pond. We're going to give that one a shot. So going to go through the process of loading the Epson software and doing a single scan. In order to load the film in the carrier, there is a separate video for that. This is just the software part of the things you need to put in so that your scan has good resolution and all that jazz. So let's move over to the Epson software. Applications, Epson, donde? Epson software. Epson Scan 2. Look at that. It went right in because the scanner was on and it recognized it. Hooray. Okay, so we can see that it actually kept my previous scan, but we, like I said, are going to do a different type of scan. And if you remember back in kind of the main settings here, I mentioned that the transparency with the film area guide is what we use for contact sheets, which is what's on the screen right now. The transparency unit is a different type of scan where it uses that holder that we put the film within. So I'm actually going to slip on the transparency unit and it says, hey, you're going to discard this. And I'm like, I'm totally done with it. So that is fine. So now when we scan with the transparency unit, it kind of resets everything. So we're moving this to black and white negative, although you can actually scan it in color. More on that some other time, like intermediate photography. I'm going to move the bit depth up, and that's going to extract more detail. It's actually going to make the file a lot bigger, but it gives us a lot more editing headroom. So 16-bit grayscale, also going to increase the dots per inch. Now it gives you a ridiculously high dots per inch throughout here. But what this is telling us is how big we can eventually print this thing. It is known that the scanner can actually handle up to 6,400 pixels in an inch. But for the purposes of our class, scanning at 4,800 is pretty a-okay. Now, you might be asking yourself, what might be the difference in those two things? Well, the difference is, again, how large you can print. So take, for example, scanning something at 4,800 is going to mean you can print about 16 inches on one of the edges. Where if you scan at 6,400, the ability to print is about at 21 inches. I don't really see us going beyond 16 inches, but maybe you see that in the future and you might want to bump up that resolution. But for now, sticking with 4,800 gives us lots to do if we want to go big later. Scan quality is high. As we jump down to the bottom here, the color management one you really don't need to click on. It's got stuff that we just don't change, and it's always set up to be okay. The thumbnail options, now small and medium and large, those are things that we're going to run through real quick just so you can see visually what's going on. The other two things we don't really need to pay attention to. Medium format is a film that's larger than ours, takes a different carrier, and it's good to specify what type of film is in there when using those. But this one we're going to check out real quick here. As you cruise down to the very bottom, you got the type of file or the image format. We want to save in a format that is lossless or that doesn't compress, and that's the TIFF. So we're going to save as a TIFF. And let's do the file name real quick. Now, the only thing additional that we need on this is to tell what the file number is. And the file number is something that we can find on our film. So if we take a look at that contact sheet, we can look at the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, that one's number 8. So now I'll know that it's this file number and the negative is number 8. So we're just going to append yet another number 8 to this one. And then Oregon Trail is fine. But if I wanted to get more specific, I might call this one something like Rock On. Although it's probably more appropriate to be like Rock On, like all caps, like I really mean it. Okay. So now I've got that file. It's also still going into the folder of assignment 1. That's probably not going to stick the next time that you use the scanner. So you're going to need to select that, find your drive, go through the hierarchy in the photographs, that's the word, and going to place it right in there next to the contact sheet. Choose. Okay, enough monkeying around. Let's do a preview and see how the thumbnails show up. Okay, did not grab thumbnails because actually in my office I'm a different scanner than the one over there. But if we click on thumbnails, it's going to be like, yeah, I'm going to try that again. And there it has prepared 5 thumbnails. And on first glance, things look okay. Personally, what's more reassuring to me is to see little black edges going around this. Then I know that the scanning software actually didn't crop anything. And this is where that thumbnail options comes in handy. I'm going to change the cropped area size to large, and we're going to run this one more time. Oh, it didn't even need to think about it. So here you can see black edge here, and not so much over there. It didn't do a really great job. Sometimes, like on this one, the thumbnail works pretty well. Does a good job of like picking up, ooh, look, that one's perfect, of where the film is. So keeping this thumbnail option on large is the best idea. I didn't change anything, guys. But we're back in action, same stuff. But since that's the film I want and it isn't giving me what I want, I'm going to have to go plan B. Here we go. Got to check thumbnail off. And now we're back here. Now I can actually get in here and just select the piece of film that I want to edit. And I'm going to do so in such a way that I grab, you know, all of that film. Getting some black edge, getting some white edge, getting all types of edge. And then I got the marching ants telling me that, hey, we're good to go here. Now, if I would like, and it's probably a good idea, to zoom in a little bit. Scanner's going to warm up and do that, and then we can just make sure that my crop is a-okay. And then it also helps me as I'm doing some advanced settings. See, look, I would have lost a little bit. And pull that down. And I don't need all that up there. Just need a little bit of that edge. Notice how it changes around. That's because of this auto thing being active over here. In the advanced settings, we're still off on all of these, which is good. We're going to go into the detailed adjustment. I'm going to go to tone correction, and we're going to make this linear, just so it's a flat, straight line. And we're going to go over here. We're going to zero that out. We're going to zero that out. And we're going to pull this thingy over, essentially to the mountain. Pull that guy over there. Yowzers, that looks fantastic. Oh, I see what's happening. It's looking at the white of this film edge and
doing an exposure based on that, which isn't entirely necessary. Anyway, as you can probably see on the film, there's some clouds in here. And if I don't scan the film, like if I do this, I'm going to lose all those clouds. So I'm scanning in such a way that I'm extracting as much detail as I possibly can from that film. It looks flat and ugly, thank you. But I can take care of that in post-production. So what I'm doing here is just trying to grab everything that I can so that when I get into post, I can always brighten this up. I can always darken or change contrast. But it's really hard to make something become less contrasty. So this kind of flat open scan gives me a lot of headway once I get into software later. Yeah, I am at a point where I feel pretty decent about this. I'm going to X out. If I were to change any of this crop, this auto control is going to reset all that. So it's really important to not adjust or have to go back through all those advanced settings. Super fun. There's my file name. It's going where I want it to. I'm essentially good to go on my scan. So here we go. So we have achieved our scan. So here is my Oregon Trail contact sheet found within my neat little folders upon my personal hard drive, and then rock on, meaning that's my rock. And if you take a look down here, there's some pretty significant resolution going on there. 4,900 pixels by 7,100 pixels. And if that doesn't mean much to you, that's okay. But it just means that we can print quite a lot of, I guess, size off of that. If you were thinking in megapixels, you just times those two numbers together and it brings you to about 35 megapixels. So that's a pretty decent little scan, right? Do you have a 35 megapixel camera? Not that megapixels are everything, but that's kind of cool to think about. Anyway, these two are ready. Moving onward would be to either scan a new piece of film or to get these things into Lightroom, which is a further video.